Hello everyone, Espen here. I hope you can hear me. Please say so in the comment section that I'm coming through loud and clear. I think the picture is all right, but I'm always curious about the sound, so I'd appreciate you telling me if it's coming through. And it's a lovely evening here in Norway. It's 9 p.m. in the evening. It's a temperature about 0 degrees Celsius. That's about 32 in Fahrenheit. And the bitter cold has left us for the time being, and some of the snow, but there's still a lot of snow around here. So it's definitely winter and a lot of icy roads as well. So I'm looking forward to spring. I have to admit to that. I don't like winter and cold very much, but living in Norway, that's half of the year basically. So we can't avoid it entirely. We have to live with cold and snow for about half of the year. So that's how it is. Well, the topic for this live session is that I'm tired with synths, and what do I mean by that? Well, we get back to that shortly. This is also supposed to be a Q&A session, questions and answers. So if you have questions for me, I'll do my best to answer them. But as always, there seem to be a lot of people interested in these live streams, and we're already up to 66 people right now, 70. So I hope that you can keep the questions sort of in line with the topic of this evening. It's evening here. So again, hello to everyone, and let's get started. And just before I went live here, I had a guy on Facebook telling me that if this live stream was not about me quitting synths altogether, the title was a clickbait, and I had to inform him that I don't do clickbaits like that. I am tired of synths, but I'll explain what I mean shortly. But even if I say I'm tired of synths, doesn't mean I'm going to quit synths entirely. It's like having a post saying I'm tired of my parents. It doesn't mean that I will leave my family immediately after a live stream. So you have to realize that you have to put something in a title. You can't have 100 words in a title. You have to have something to draw people in. And that's what I'm doing. And let's get started. So people, I'm tired of synths. And what do I mean? Well, I'm tired of synths being at the center of my world. I'm tired of synths being at the center of my universe. And I'm tired of synths fighting off, competing with what's my true love. And my true love is to make music, to write lyrics, to make songs. And let me ask you this. I'll ask you something and you can answer in the comments. If I get a new synth, a new old synth, or a new synth plugin, will that help me to make better songs? Will I make better lyrics? Will it help me to arrange my music better? Will I make more music, etc., etc.? If I get a new synth when I already have so many, you can answer in the comments if you want to, and you can ask the question to yourself as well. Will getting a new synth make you a better musician? Well, I don't think so in my case here. And that's what I mean by I'm tired of synths. Let me explain a little bit further. I think that in the position I'm right now, getting more and more gear, which I have been doing for the last 4 or 5 years, mainly because of the channel. I'll get back to that as well. Getting a new synth now will not help me in any particular way. It can surely help the channel getting more views and subscribers if I continue going on presenting new synths and new old synths, etc., etc. But that's what I'm really tired of, presenting gear all the time. I've done that for a couple of years now, even more so, 5 or 6 years. And that's really what I'm getting tired of. And I know that if I stop making those videos about synths, the history of the synth, and here's the oscillator, here's the pulse wave, and here's the LFO, etc. When I stop doing that, my view count will probably go down. I've seen this already because I have sort of made other types of videos in the last 6 months. But my goal for 2024 and going forward is to make more music. I want to make more music. I want to write lyrics. I want to arrange. I want to produce. And I'm more than happy to start focusing more on the tutorial part of making music, the tutorial part of making arrangements, the tutorial part of how to produce stuff and write stuff and the creative process, more than showing you a saw wave or a pulse wave or a free running oscillator opposed to a cycled oscillator, etc., etc. That doesn't really interest me as much anymore. It probably never did, but I've had to learn the stuff to make sounds, and I am a sound designer. I make patches. I will continue to make patches. And I will continue to bring new stuff into the studio, new stuff into the channel, because it will interest me, and I will review products as I always have. But I will not do it as much as I used to. And that's something I hope some of you will understand, that being a YouTuber, which a lot of you know me by, is a kind of, it can be a very stale environment, because you often have to do what you think the audience want to see and to have. And that's true if you run your YouTube channel as a business, where you rely on the income from YouTube views and ads, etc. If you rely on that, if that's your financial world, I guess you have to just feed the audience, feed the machine what you think they will want to see, and what's worked in the past. But for me, YouTube is only a little bit of what I do in terms of income. Most of my income comes from other sources. YouTube is a sort of window showcasing my skills, and what I've presented in lots of my videos has been picked up by clients, which have then hired me to do special things for them as a paid gig. And that's basically how I live off being a musician today. It's not about YouTube views. And that got me thinking, why should I spend my time on YouTube doing things that I really don't like to do anymore? Don't get me wrong, you will see a lot of vintage synths and vintage gear on the channel. It will be 80s related, and I will make 80s music, and I will show you how I make 80s music with vintage and modern synths and plugins as well. So I just wanted you to have a little insight into the world of my channel and how I want to go forward with the channel. If you're just joining here, I see we're up to 112 people right now, so welcome you are. You can always go back and watch the stream as a video later on when the stream has ended. The live chat will always be available in the stream when you watch it back later, but not until about 24 hours has passed. This is a YouTube thing. I can't do nothing about it. The live chat will not come alive before about a day has passed after I publish the live stream as a video, so be aware of that. Okay, let me just have a drink of water here. Let me give you an example of what I mean. And right now, this very week, there's one synth that is really in the wind, very popular to post topics about and very popular to post videos about right now. Can you guess what synth I'm talking about? Let me hear it in the comment section fast if you know what synth I'm referring to right now. I'm talking about the Behringer UBXA, the clone of the Oberheim OBXA, and that synth is very much in the talk right now. And you have videos, you have unboxing videos, you have comparisons videos where people compare the saw wave of the UBXA to the OBXA. You have people comparing the card box it ships in. You have people, talking good things about the UBXA, and no doubt it's a great synth. So why haven't I made a video about the UBXA? Well, I don't want the UBXA at all. I don't want the OBXA either. The thing is, for me, every new synth that comes out these days, I know Korg has a lot of synths coming out right now. You saw them in the NAMM show 24. There's a lot of manufacturers coming out with new synths these days. And you know what? They're all great. They're all fantastic synths. They can do so much. And I could easily make a complete track, a complete album with only sounds from one of these synths. So the problem isn't that the synths aren't good enough. Vintage synths are good as well, and plugin synths, they're also okay. They're all fantastic synths, and you can do so much with all of these synths. So the question is, do you want to see videos on the UBXA? Do you want one? Do you desire one? Should you get one? Yes, you should definitely get one if that's what you want. I don't want it because I have enough sounds as it is right now. So I don't see the point for me paying 16 or 700 grand for a UBXA when I have all those sounds from before. But good for you if you want it and you buy it and you enjoy it. That's the main thing. People are always asking me, Espen, when are you going into Euroracks? Do you want Euroracks? How do you feel about Euroracks? Do you want it? Do you use it? And people know I don't have any desire for any Eurorack, but I know a lot of people has loads of modular synth setups and they enjoy it. They love it. Some love it because they just relax in the environment of Eurorack and you just sit around patching cables and making sounds and enjoy life doing that. And that's fantastic. Instruments, music, sounds, everything is meant to be enjoyed. And if you enjoy that, that's fantastic. Glory to you for that. And I highly suggest you should follow everything that you want in terms of bringing joy to your life. Not at the expense of maybe some other things that mean more in life, but if you have the money, go get that new synth that you want and post videos about it. But I will not do that anymore. I want to focus on making music with the gear I have. I remember back in the day, I don't come from a rich family. So when I had to buy my first synth, I had to work for it a whole summer as a teenager, working as a car park assistant in a field where people could come and pick up strawberries. Actually, it was a strawberry farm. And I worked every day for that summer to buy my first synth. And that was the only synth I had, and I had it for a long time. And I really had to dig in to learn that synth from scratch. And it took a long time for me to master it. And it really felt like an instrument at the time. It grew on me, and I had to really, it became one in a way because I loved it so much back then. I don't love it as much now as I got other synths later, but I loved it then, and it made me work it to get those sounds out of it that I needed for my music at the time. And as years went by and I got a regular job, so to speak, I worked for music, but I had a good income. And I started buying more synths and more gear, etc. And the more gear I had, the less time I had to learn the stuff, the less time I had with each of the synths and of the gear. And basically, I didn't touch half of what I did with that first synth. I didn't dive in as much as I could have to hone in on its sound capabilities. So when I felt I had stagnated with a synth, which I hadn't, but I thought so, I was out looking for the new synth because the race for new synths, the manufacturers made new synths just as easily and as fast as they do today. You just didn't have any internet to read about them. You read about them in magazines. So you didn't have as much time with each new thing as you maybe had 5 or 6 years ago. And I really miss those times when I had to work with limitations Do this make sense to you? Do you have the same experience as me on that? Please say so in the comment section. So that is basically what I mean now, but I'm tired of synths. I'm tired of the synth being in the center of what my life is about in a professional sort of way. And that was really the topic for this live stream today. So let me check out some of the comments here. And there's a lot of them. Here's a comment from Bruno. Sometimes I rent synths. And even in Norway, you can still actually rent synths. And this was very common in the past when a studio wanted to do a recording session for an artist or a client. They often had to go out and rent synths, and that can really be a thing to do even today. It'll cost you a lot less than buying the synth. So definitely rent a synth if you want to check out something new. It's a very good advice. So let's check it out. Here's one I got last time as well, and something I've heard a lot in the past 2 or 3 months, because I've posted some videos about plugins that I like. If I'm going in the box, and let me just repeat some of the things I've said from before. I've always been in the box. I had computers back in the, let me just turn off this. I had computers back in the day, and we often did things on the computer, everything from sampling to sound design, even in the 80s, actually, on expensive machinery, which I've also worked. And I've always been in the box, but in the modern sense, if I'm ditching hardware for plugins, no, I'm not. But I will still continue to use plugins that interest me, plugins that I like, and maybe even reviews of plugins that I think will be something you'd be interested in, because I find the plugin a good plugin. Like I've said before, I get many asks from manufacturers to review products, software on the channel, and I say no to many of them. Occasionally I say yes, and I have a video coming out tomorrow actually about a plugin, a drum plugin that I really like. So I will not stop using plugins, but I will not stop using vintage hardware either, and I will not stop using modern hardware either. You've seen me use both the Arturia Mini Freak and the Micro Freak lately. And I had them basically and mostly to make patches on them. And I used them a little bit in my own music as I had them, but they're both gone. I don't have the Mini Freak, I don't have the Micro Freak anymore, because they won't bring anything new to my fleet of sounds already. But they were great assets for making patches, which I sell. So the Mini Freak, Micro Freak, great synths, but they were sort of surplus in my fleet of synths, because I can make those sounds with the things I have already. So they're gone. So I'm not going in the box, and I'm not going out of the box. I go in and out of the box as I please when I think it's appropriate. So that's that. And again, hello to everyone new here. You can always watch the stream back if you want to see from the beginning, when this is published as a sort of straight video later on. So let's see. There's a lot of comments here, guys. Thank you for that. Awesome, awesome. Here's a comment from Synth Studio DeVries. I'm thinking of downsizing my setup to only one good workstation. In the past, I only had a Korg Trinity. I made all my music on it. And you know what? I can't remember exactly the year, but could it have been around 95, perhaps? No matter I had the Korg Trinity. I bought it when it was released in Norway, the silver one, the first model with that prophecy expansion card in it. So I had one extra voice of the prophet. No, no, the prophecy. Sorry, prophecy. And I actually made a couple of albums for a couple of clients with only the Korg Trinity, a great workstation at the time. And the workstation really has its place today, even though I personally don't use workstations as much anymore, because I like to pick out sounds from different sources to make sort of my trademark sound. But the Korg Trinity is a great synth still. I did a video on the TR rack a couple of years ago, which is the Trinity in a box, sort of. But the Trinity itself, a great synth workstation, and I loved it dearly back in the day. And absolutely a good choice to check out old workstations today. And saying that, thinking of the 90s as the old days makes me feel old. But then again, I am old. So Trinity, good choice. Yeah, nice, nice. So let's see here what we've got in terms of I'm not sure I'm going to put this up on the screen here because it's a very long comment, so it'll probably fill the entire screen. But a good friend of mine here in Norway, who is a journalist, he says that he interviewed. You can see this in the comment section yourself, of course. But he interviewed Andy McCluskey from OMD not so long ago, and what I read here is that all of his synths are in the box right now, and that's something I see quite a lot. Almost all of my old favorite synth artists or musicians from the 80s, OMD, yeah, you name it, you can name pretty much anyone. Most of them right now are doing stuff in the box. Even Harold Faltermeyer, he has all his old gear stashed away in his studio, but he's sitting in front of a computer making music on a computer. And why do these old dogs with lots of global hits in the past, why don't they use their Jupiter 8s or Juno 106s and stuff like that, TR 808s, etc.? When purists say that they're the only way to make music, well, I don't know, but something tells them that they can get the similar result in the box. And again, the purists will say that the music they're making now doesn't sound as good as it did back in the 80s. And while I can agree with some of that, I'm not so sure it's about the sounds themselves. I think it's more that maybe they're lacking creativity in terms of making good songs, good songwriting, more than it is the sounds themselves. But that's definitely open for debate and something we can discuss in another live stream, or I can make a video about. But I've also noticed that a lot of my old heroes are doing a lot of stuff in the box these days. And I don't think it's because they can't afford the old stuff to rebuy it, for instance, like how Jones had to do with some of his old stuff. But I think it's more that it's convenient, it's fast, and they can sort of pick up and load up a new project without having to patch things for half a day to get their sounds across. So definitely something to think about there. So let's see what else here. I can see that a lot of you guys sympathizes with my desire for making more tutorials on the creative process and stuff like that, and that warms my heart, actually. Production videos, etc., etc. Here's another comment or question, and it's of course about the new Korg PS 3300, which will cost about a kidney, from what I've seen, at least 10K, even more if I remember correctly. I've only been browsing through a little bit of the news about those new Korg, 3300s, and let me tell you the truth, they don't interest me at all. I can't afford them. That's one thing. And even if I did, well, maybe if I did, if I was a millionaire, maybe I'd buy them just to have them because I had the money, maybe. But I'm not a millionaire, and I definitely can't afford them now. But that's out of the way, the money issue with those new flagship analog semi-modular synths from Korg. They don't really interest me at all, I have to say. So I can't see myself doing anything with those on the channel unless some good friend just drive up here one day and say, hey, do you want to check this out on the channel? Then I'll probably say yes, because, well, why not? But it's not really something that interests me. It definitely won't make my music sound any better. It won't make me a better musician. So that's my plain answer for that. Yeah, so let's see what else here. I see a lot of you guys picked up on the UBXA thing and that you like Oberheim synths, and so do I. I like them all. And I actually did a lot of work with a OB8 back in the day. So I'm pretty familiar with the Oberheim architecture. And lately, which you will see in a video I have done already, which is just waiting to be released, my strong opinion now is that sitting in a room on your own playing an old Oberheim synth, you can sort of compare it with the Jupiter 8 I have here, sitting in a room playing it on a loud PA system, just digging into the sounds and just cranking it up. It's definitely a cool experience. And for that, old original hardware will always be the way to compare everything else. You can't beat the old dogs when it comes to the sheer awesomeness of sitting and playing it in isolation on a big PA system or a good speaker system. But once you get, and that can be a lot of fun and spark creativity to make great songs, etc. And I do that a lot. But in a mix, when I need that Jupiter 8 sound or that Oberheim pad sound, etc., 99% of the time, even now, even if I have that Jupiter 8 sitting right here, I turn to a software emulation of that sound I want, because it's easier to edit, and it's easier to bring up again later and change some of the sounds, instead of having to patch up the hardware and getting it in sync with the oscillators and tuning it, etc. So I use the plugins 99% of the time when I'm doing the mix with a sound. Sometimes at the end of the arrangement, the production, I swap out the plugin sound with the original one and mix that in. But truth be told, there's very, very, very little difference in the final output. And I think plugin software emulations of classic synths have reached a stage now where there's really no difference. The difference is in isolation, when you play it in the room by yourself and then comparing it maybe to a clone, you can hear the difference, some more clearly than others. But in the mix, if you're going for that thing, a sound in the mix, then I'd probably use plugins 9 out of 10 times today. And I do that 10 out of 10 times when I work for clients. For the last 5 years, I've never had a client calling me back or saying to me, Espen, hey, this doesn't sound like a Jupiter 8 or the Oberheim XA or that Korg Poly 6. Not one time, because the clients, at least the clients I have, they don't care about that at all. They care about getting the Espen Craft music for their projects. They want the total sound. So for them, me sitting in isolation playing that Jupiter 8, it doesn't mean anything to them. They're not willing to pay $1 more for me having that experience. They want the total, the final result, the sound. And when I deliver that from plugins, they're happy. They're 100% happy, and I've never had any complaints about that at all. So I don't know. So let's see. I see that. I won't put the comment up on the screen, or the name, but it is in the comment section, so you can check it out yourself. But another thing that I want to address is that Behringer, with all its clones, well, I think Behringer should put more effort and time and money into developing their own synths, like they did with the DeepMind, etc. I think that's the true value of having a big organization like Behringer to develop your own thing. And all the cloning stuff that they're doing, well, that's up to them. And I definitely see the market and why they do it, because a lot of people buy their clones and make good music with it. You can make great music with the Behringer synths. And again, the difference between the UBXA and the OBXA, well, you probably will recognize some of it if you have them side by side, playing them in isolation. When that UBXA turn up in a hit song in 3 months, doing well on the charts, you won't know at all if it's done on a UBXA or the OBXA, because it'll be playing alongside other sounds and maybe vocals, etc. It doesn't really matter. You can make great sounds on it, you can make bad sounds on it, and you can do good sounds and bad sounds with the original as well. Not all music in the 80s was good music. Let me tell you, a lot of music in the 80s were just as bad as music is today. It was just different from music today. It was different in a bad way, and it was different in a good way. So there's always been good music. There's always been bad music done with synths. So that's that. But I think Behringer should be doing more of their own stuff and not cloning stuff. But that's my personal opinion, which you, of course, will get tuning into my channel. It's really not up to me what people buy or thinking of buying or desire or opinions for that matter. I have Behringer stuff in my studio, not any synths, but I have some other Behringer stuff, and mostly all of the Behringer stuff I've had has been okay. It's been working when I've used it, and I have nothing against Behringer as such in that sense. They're definitely not jokes, but I know some of you think that they are. Yep, we have more comments here. Let's see. And again, I really enjoy you people commenting amongst yourself here, among yourselves here. I think that is great. That is also something I want from the comment section, that you just could talk to each other. Great. And many thanks for super chats and donations, people. It keeps me alive and keeps the channel going, so I definitely appreciate that. So thank you very much for that. And here's a question from NCP. Hello, Espen. Do you have a favorite outboard FX unit that a plugin can't replace? And I think I've answered this before as well. And there are many old effects units that's being emulated in software. That sounds nice, but the two effects units that I can think of that hasn't been emulated in software by no one, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not up to date on everything that's happening in the music software industry, but two favorite effects units of mine that comes to mind is the Ensoniq DP4 or DP4 Plus. I don't think that's been replicated in software, and those are great effects units. I love them a lot, and I've had both the DP4 and the DP4 Plus. And another one that I think also remains to be seen as software is the Alesis MIDI Verb 2. I think the MIDI Verb 2 is the MIDI verb to get if you're going for a sort of mojo and really nice crunch in the best possible way. I don't think that's been replicated in software either. Again, please correct me in the comments section if I'm wrong. That said, the most of the old lexicons and the AMS Neve RMX16, or the AMS RMX16 as it was originally called, has been replicated in software, both by Universal Audio and native by Wave Alchemy with the Glow plugin. And all of these sounds great. I actually had a little talk with a friend of mine on Facebook a couple of hours before this live stream about the AMS RMX 16, and that's maybe my favorite reverb effect unit from the past. And AMS Neve does it in the 500 series now, and Universal Audio does it in a plugin form using the original code from the original hardware, and it all sounds great. So sorry. So some software emulations do it very well, but I don't think the DP4 or the MIDI Verb 2 has been replicated in software form. So these are definitely two effects that I recommend checking out, which I love a lot. So let's see. Here's a very interesting question, which I've also answered before, but I'll answer it again, from Rachel. Hi, Rachel. Thanks for joining in. Espen, do you feel that having too much gear has got in the way of you making new music? And the answer is yes, but not because it has hindered my creativity. That can often be the case. It's like when you have 2,000 videos, DVDs on the shelf, and you just want to watch a movie one night, and you just go around the shelf for hours. You can't find one movie to choose because you have too many. That's not why I've not made as music as I want to, because I've had too much gear in that way, in the creative way. But I've had so much gear and synths for the last 5-6 years that I've felt that I've had to make videos about the gear to feed the channel. And I've done that instead of spending my time making the music that I really wanted to make. So in that sense, having all that gear has really hindered my creativity and quantity output, because I've had so many ideas for music that I wanted to make that I've just set aside because I've fed the channel with content instead. And that's sort of the incentive to make this video, because I don't want to do that anymore. So a very good question. And I know a lot of people can be hindered in a creative way by having too many options. So self-imposed limitations is also one thing I've done a lot in the past that we'll do again. That can really spark creativity and boost your creativity. So self-imposed limitations, definitely something I'd like to use as a technique, and maybe do more videos about. I've done some in the past. So very good question there from Rachel. So let's see what else. What else? The space echo is, of course, another great effect that, well, I think it's been done in an emulated form by several manufacturers, really, but there's something really nice about the original space echo, definitely. MIDI Verb 2 impulses, yes, there exists impulses for reverbs that uses impulses, of course. Many thanks, Rune Lindman, for donation to the channel. Appreciate it very, very much. Thank you so much. Another question from Deepak. What are your favorite VSTs, Espen? And if you're talking about synths here, there's a lot to to consider, of course. I don't know if you watched the latest or one of the latest videos from Junkie XL. Tom, he listed a couple of his favorites, and some of his favorites are my favorites as well. Lately, I've been using the Arturia V collection a lot. I think this is probably the greatest value for money you can get in terms of getting a fleet of old classic synths for a reasonable price. If you're going in a plugin form, you can't really go wrong with the V collection. I think there's a lot of good sounds in there. I'm not sponsored by Arturia in any way, except that they sent me the V collection to check it out, and I did, and I liked it a lot. But I think that's good value for money. So that's definitely a favorite of mine. A favorite of mine that I've used a lot in the past, but very little in the last years, are Omnisphere by Spectrasonics. I've bought Spectrasonics CDs, CD libraries, almost from when they started. Eric Pershing is, of course, a genius when it comes to sound design and patch design, as he did so many of those cult classic sounds from Roland in the 80s. So Omnisphere is really the pinnacle of VSTs, synth VSTs. The reason I haven't used it as much in the later years is because sometimes Omnisphere can sound too thick in a way. You can't really add much to the sound of Omnisphere. So I found it sort of almost swamping my productions when I try to incorporate its sound in a pop song, but for doing soundtracks and game music and stuff like that, I think Omnisphere is really good. It doesn't work as good for pop, in my opinion, at least not the pop I make. But Omnisphere is really nice. So the V collection and Omnisphere are really great plugins. I also use a lot of things from Tal. I think Tal is a very nice company, makes good stuff, simple stuff that works very well. The Tal sampler is one, of course. I've used that a lot for my own sample libraries. And Tal LX, of course, the 106 or Geno 60 emulation. So that's just the ones that comes to mind as I'm reading this question. So that's that. So let's see what else here. Shout out to Pershing, the father of the Hoover. Well, I have to say that I'll put this up here. The Hoover, the Korg legacy is also great, but this comment here. Shout out to Pershing, the father of the Hoover, and you're of course referring to the Alpha Juno sound Hoover, a cult classic techno sound, and that's basically the one sound that I'd mentioned to Pershing if I'd ever meet him, that I really wish he didn't make, because I really don't like that sound at all. But I know a lot of people do, so that's all good. And let me pick out this comment here. Again, I think I've answered this before, but hey, let's do it again. Hey, Espen, do you have a Roland D110 in your arsenal? And if so, what creative ways have you used it? First, the word Arsenal here. I saw Arsenal beat Liverpool 3-1 in the game tonight here. So that's that. Arsenal nor Liverpool is my favorite team, so it doesn't matter to me. I just saw that Arsenal won 3-1 in football. But hey, Espen, do you have a Roland D110? And actually, the D110 was my first synth module that I owned. I got that and the Alesis MMT8 sequencer at the same time. And they were really made for each other. The D110 being a sort of souped up version of the MT32 with individual outputs, multi-timbral, of course, and the Alesis MMT8, a great little sequencer back in the day. And the D110, I dig really into that one, and I knew it. I don't think there was one thing about the D110 that I didn't master or could do at the time. And I did a lot of demos with the D110. Unfortunately, I didn't think the D110 stood up very well in a professional environment, used as a professional instrument in terms of sound. It had some sounds, string sounds, etc. That was good, and I have fond memories of the time with the D110. I'm not interested in getting one today, except maybe for gaming, as with the MT32. But if it's retro gaming I want to do, I'd use the MT32 because that's a classic in its own way as a desktop module for retro gaming. So, but again, the D110 was pretty solid as a demo machine back in the day. I fleshed out a lot of demos on that eventually turned into more professional polished songs for clients later on, but then the sounds were replaced by other sounds. But Eric Persing did those demo songs on it as well, and I loved it back in the day. Absolutely. Here's one that the Korg 01W, also a great workstation back in the day, the predecessor to the Korg Trinity. I had that as well, and I gigged live with the 01 a lot, as I did with the Trinity. And I actually have some drum samples from the 01 still that I use occasionally. So another great workstation from the past. And a question: have you owned Access virus synths? And I don't think I've owned one. I've definitely had several of them coming by as years went by, and I've used sounds from them. And I think a lot of people still uses the virus in different ways, the different versions of the virus. And it was always very popular in the techno world, and also in the pop world. It can do a lot, and I like the virus, and I liked it back then, but I don't think I ever owned it. Another good question: would you consider buying a larger console, maybe a 16-track? And the answer to that now is no. I don't have the space for any big consoles right now, and there was a little frame of time about a year ago, 2 years ago, where I seriously considered getting a large format console in here in this little room, but it didn't turn out the way I was thinking at the time. So now I just put all that on ice, and I don't really see me going that route now, as I really don't need it. I'm going to be very pragmatic from now on in terms of what I need and what I want. Those two are not the same. What I'd want and what I need, well, two different things. And interesting question here. Have you tried the third wave? I got one and I'm absolutely blown away. And I've heard great things about the third wave. I've not tried one myself, and I have only listened to it on YouTube, in YouTube videos, and a couple of audio files that I've downloaded and listened to for a little bit better quality. And it's no doubt a great synth. But I have to say, in all honesty, I hear nothing in it that I really can't do with other means that I have at my disposal. The PPGs, I have pretty much what I need in terms of PPG type of sounds. I have the Prophet VS, and I have samples that I use a lot from the PPG. I've used the PPG 2.2, so I have both sounds from it and I know it well. And basically, I don't see the price of the third wave is really, it's way too much for what that synth is. I'm not very impressed with the third wave of what I've heard so far. But again, that's my opinion. And if you have it and enjoy it, that's great. And like I said, everything is good. Everything is good. And buy whatever you want and use it and enjoy it. It's when you don't enjoy it, you should get rid of it and get something else. But dig in and use your instruments to its full potential before you send it off. But I know many of you will only touch the surface and send it off. And who am I to say that you shouldn't do it? I just don't want to do that anymore myself. So third wave, not impressed, but I can be wrong. But since I haven't tried it out myself, I can't know for sure. And here's a mention of a synth that I also used a lot, the Kurzweil K2000. I used that on several albums, actually, including my own band's album back in 1997. And maybe I'll play you something from that album at one time. And the Kurzweil K2000 is a great synth sampler and sound manipulator. You could do so much with the K2000, and you still can do it. The vast VAST technology that Kurzweil had back then, extremely well made, and it could do a lot of things. I also used the K2500 for live gigs back in the day because I had it on loan, or I borrowed it from a friend of mine. And that was also a great but very heavy beast. And yeah, so the Kurzweil from the early 90s and through the 90s, great synths. The word better is not the word I would use, because there's no such thing as a synth better than another. It's depending on what you're using it for and whatever creativity you get out of it. So what's a better synth? I don't know. But K2000, definitely a good synth, which I actually recommend to this day. If people ask me if they should get a K2000, I say cheap price, good condition, get it. It's capable of many things. Here's a question. Have you met any of your synth idols? I followed Howard Jones since 1984, and I would love to meet him someday. And just to say thanks for the 40 years of great music. I haven't met many of my old heroes. I've met some that were big in Norway at the time, but not many from England, from the UK, unfortunately. And I would also like to meet Howard Jones if opportunity comes by, and I would also probably say thank you for great music. I still listen to Howard Jones, but I would probably more discuss with him or ask him about some of the things he did to make those records and songs back in the day, from things like composition and lyrics and studio techniques. That's what I would be interested in talking with him about. So Howard Jones, great artist. Yeah, a lot of comments here. Nice. I saw one question here. Let's see if we can find that again, which I browsed through. Some questions here about the Eurorack and Euroracks. And I really have no interest in either using Euroracks or building Euroracks or playing around with Euroracks. So that I've said before. And here's one from Mario. I assume that you haven't seen my JX08 Roland. Wait, Siri on my phone just broke in here while I was saying that. You probably haven't seen my boutique video about the JX08 from Roland. And if you watch that, it's on my video channel. It's a video on my channel. You know that I have very strong opinions about the Roland Boutique series. So watch that and watch the video to its end. That's kind of important. And the JV series from Roland, I have, of course, used a lot of that as well. And the JD series, I have a couple of videos on my channel about the JD 800 and the JD 990, which I've borrowed from a friend of mine who you will meet probably later in this stream, hopefully. So my thoughts on the JD800 and JD990 is well documented in those videos. And these are sort of the type of videos that I won't make anymore. So you should definitely enjoy those videos. Another thing which I haven't mentioned is that I'm currently in the process of taking off some old videos on my channels. If there are any favorite videos of mine that you like, you should definitely download them while you can. I've had many questions already from people asking, why isn't that video or that video available anymore? And that's because I'm in the process of taking some of the videos down. And there can be a lot of reasons for that. And one of the reasons why I'm taking down old videos is because there is music in those videos that I've made that's been picked up by clients, music that's been licensed out, and clients wanting me to rearrange those musical snippets into musical pieces to be used by the clients in their projects. And as such, they no longer want to have that music available online except for their own stuff. And that's most of the time the main reason for me taking down these old videos now. So when we talk about the JD990 video, which has a lot of views, there is a piece of music in there that's a good example of a piece of music that's let me put it like this: don't be surprised if that video will be gone soon. So if you like that JD990 video, you should definitely download it if you really want to rewatch it. So all of those videos that's been taken down, they might come up again in a edited form on my Patreon page. So all of these videos will probably be available on my Patreon later on, but not right now. So again, download videos if you like it. Okay, here's a question, kind of technical in nature, and let's see. Hi, Espen, love your work. Thank you. Can you please share your opinion about the Jupiter 8 filter compared to the filter in the DSS-1? And that's really hard to do because they're two different synths, and it's not only the filter that determines the sound of a synth. So the Jupiter 8 filter, well, it's okay. I don't think the filter on the Jupiter 8 is really that much to talk about. But the filter in the DSS-1 is really potent, and I think it's one of the great filters out there. The way the DSS-1 can, it's an awesome power in the DSS-1 with the resonance and everything. And I actually, in that way, prefer the filter of the DSS-1 to the one in the Jupiter 8. But the Jupiter 8 has so many other features that are really cool and nice and sort of blows the DSS-1 out of the water. But the synth engine in the DSS-1 is a Godzilla, actually. So they're both great in different ways, but it's hard to compare just by saying what filter do you prefer one or the other? Really hard question to answer. So let's see what else here, guys. And again, let's a little bit more on the Jupiter 8 here. From Audio Lumtic, I know when the Jupiter 8 first came to your studio, you weren't impressed. You still feel the same after having used it more? The Jupiter 8 is a classic synth, of course, and used in so many 80s hit songs, from Frankie Goes to Hollywood to Howard Jones, since we mentioned him earlier. And the Jupiter 8 is a great synth, no doubt about it, but is it worth 40 or 50K as it seems that the market commands these days? Of course not. It's not worth half of that, not even a quarter of that. It's a great synth, and it's only high in price because of the collector's value. And if the market says it's worth 50K, it's worth 50K in the market, but musically it's not worth 50K, of course. Not by a chance. So no, it's not worth that. If I'm impressed, it's a great synth, and I use the plugin version most of the time when I want that Jupiter 8 sound. I have it here still because the owner hasn't picked it up yet. And because I have it here, I use it once in a while. If not for nothing else, I have to warm up the electronics, because you can't have an old vintage synth just sitting there unused. You have to power it on and warm up the components, etc., from time to time. So I do that. And when I do that, I play it a little. And when I play it a little, I often record a sound here and there for projects I'm working on. So I like it, but I don't like it more than the Juno 106. I use the Juno 106 more than the Jupiter 8. I think the Juno 106 has more of that sound that I want to have in my music than the Jupiter 8, but they're both great. Can be used for good things and can be used for bad things. And the Jupiter X, well, same thing, great emulation of the Jupiter 8 and other Roland synths, and I'd have no problem using the Jupiter X in a song. I could use the Boutique series in a song as well, but there's something about the Zen core sound engine of the Roland stuff that really doesn't appeal that much to me, which is the basis of the Jupiter X. So it's not a favorite, but again, in a mix, no one will hear the difference. So in that case, it's good. It's good. The question I wanted to pull up on the screen here, I can't seem to find right now, so we'll have to do that another time. Another comment here. Your sound aesthetics would go really good with the SSL 4000G, one of my favorite consoles, and that is, of course, a classic 80s big console from SSL. And there's actually one in my hometown. I live outside the town now, but where I used to live and used to do a lot of things, they have a SSL 4000 now, and I have a SSL 6 mixer in the studio, which I run a lot of audio through, which doesn't sound the same, but it's good on its own for what it is. But I definitely wouldn't mind running all my tracks through the SSL 4000 today, but it's not really practical for me to do that now. So I have to do with the SSL 6 mixer and some SSL plugins, which I like a lot, actually. Stomp boxes I use occasionally, not as much, but I have a few lying around. So someone was asking that. So let's see here. Let's go back to what we started with. Me being tired of synths. It doesn't sound like that now that I'm talking about synths, as my voice gets busy here. But from now on, I really want to focus on making music with the synths that I have. If you're new to the stream right now, you can watch it back. I started by saying that I have many synths, I have all the sounds I need. Now is the time to really dig in and start using the gear that I have to make the music that I want to make. More of that, which has been sort of put aside for many years now because the channel has grown into a sort of monster in the way that I've felt that I had to make gear videos for the sake of making gear videos, gear porn, as we like to say it. And that's really not what I want to focus on in 2024. I want to focus more on the creative process, but I will still show off both modern and old synths, plugins, etc. But it will probably be more in the context of making music, making sounds, and the creative process, tutorials on different kinds of things in association with making music. And I really hope that is something that you will enjoy by watching my channel. So let's see here what we have. We over an hour already. That's great. Let's see. Espen, check out the link Audio Design 500 series SSL clones. They use that exact SSL design and recreate them the same way as they were built in the 80s. And I haven't checked that out. I will definitely do that. So thanks for the tip. And yeah, that's that. And I had one here. Let's see. But are you still the 80s? Espen, are you still the 80s? I like to think of myself as the 80s, and that will not change. The tools might change occasionally, but I will always be the 80s, because the 80s is where my heart lies in terms of music passion. And yeah, that's my decade, really. I have only fond memories of the 80s. 80s was a great decade for me. So I will always be the 80s, and but that doesn't mean other people can't be the 80s. Everyone can be the 80s if you have the love for the 80s, the love for the music and the culture from the 80s. Then you are the 80s as well. So it's not something exclusively to me. Everyone can be the 80s, and everyone can be the 90s, and everyone can be the 70s. But just beware, I own the domain iamthe80s.com. That's mine. And I think I'm the 70s and I'm the 90s as well. I just haven't got around to that decade as much in my videos as the 80s. So you can check that out if it's still available. I don't think it is. So let's see. This is a nice question. Let's pick that out. Can you talk about how the role of the SSL6 plays in your productions? And well, I made a whole video series about this about a year ago. It's called A Song is Born, a series that really bombed in terms of views. 8 hours of me explaining every little detail on how I make a song from scratch, all the way up to its release onto the world, onto the streaming media of the time at the time. And a couple of episodes in that epic series was about how I've set up 2 SSL6 mixers along with a lot of outboard and patch bass, etc., to mix and hone in on that particular song, the production. So if you want to check out how I used the SSL6 mixer and how we did it actually in the 80s, although sculpted down in size because of the room here isn't big enough for everything from the big consoles to the tape machines. You can watch that series, and that's how I use the SSL6 mixers. I think they sound great. They don't color the sound all that much, but they have lots of headroom and sound very clean. And I like everything from the preamps to the EQs, etc. So I continue to use the SSL6 mixers in my studio. You can see it. Is it there? That's the SSL6 mixer right now. You can see a bit of it here. It's not turned on because it gets incredibly warm. So it's hot enough here from before, so I won't turn that on as I'm doing the live streams. So that's that. Someone is saying there might be the 1880s, and that's sort of cool. I don't know if you've noticed, but I've just recently released a song on my channel, my interpretation of Clair de Lune, a classical piece by Claude Debussy from 1905, and sort of made in a sort of ambient style, or lots of atmosphere, lots of long reverbs, etc. And this is something I want to do more this year. I plan to do 10 of my favorite classical pieces, old music, and arrange them and produce them in sort of my style, the way I want to arrange them. And I also want to release that album eventually on CD, because I've pulled all my music off the streaming media. You can only get my music now on Bandcamp and on physical media. So my albums will be released on physical media now in the future. And I'm also in the process of I'm remixing some of the songs from my album Those Days from 2017, and I will release that album as well on CD, all the original mixes as well as a couple of new mixes. So you will get the old original mixes and some new mixes of that album Those Days on CD in 2024. I will of course notify you on my channel when that's ready. But I think this is the way forward for me, as I've pulled every music I have off Spotify and Apple Music, etc. So physical media, especially CDs, will be the way I'm releasing my music now in the future. So look out for that on the channel. And what else? It seems to be coming to an end here. And this is definitely a question that will be the basis of future videos here. Any thoughts which track parts you would prefer to start to build the song upon? And that's a very interesting question, and a question that might require a long answer. And I'm not sure exactly what you mean in terms of build the song upon, but all my music, I'd say 99% of all my music, is composed in a traditional way, sitting on a piano, sometimes a guitar, but mostly a piano. It's Siri again, turning up here. Sorry about that, people. Let's check that out again. Most of my music is done on a piano, composed with chord structure and whatever needed to make it a complete song. Lyrics, if it's a pop song, supposed to be to have vocals on it. And only when the composition is ready with chords and structure, etc., I will sit down and start arranging it with instrument sounds and recording it. And if that's what you mean, the song is already made, composed, then I would sit down and start fleshing out, most of the time, a drum pattern and a bass pattern and pads. That's my go-to section after the song has been composed. I know a lot of you guys bring out some loops, etc., and stuff like that, and make your song from that starting point, a loop and maybe some bass, etc. And again, nothing wrong with that. Whatever works for you. But I'm a traditional singer-songwriter type of guy, so I have to compose my music first on a piano with vocals, if it's not an instrumental track, and then I start arranging it, and most often than not with drums, bass, and a pad sound, chord sound, and then I bring in a demo vocal and start building things up from there. So that's my my traditional way of doing it. So that's that. Is the Arturia Emulator 2 accurate as the real one? Well, it's accurate enough for me most of the time. I don't use the Emulator 2 sounds as much anyway, so that's not a plugin I've used a lot from that V collection, I have to admit to that. I like the Fairlight better than the Emulator 2 in terms of sound, if you want to. But again, what is better, it's often more than what you prefer than better, if you're gonna phrase or vocalize your opinion. I like to use the word prefer. against the word better, but for the sake of simplicity, let's say that I prefer the Fairlight sound better than the Emulator 2. So how accurate it is, I'm not sure. So let's see here. Tangerine Dream is mentioned here, and that's neither a question nor it's a statement, perhaps. Tangerine Dream. That's really, if I see Tangerine Dream, that's enough for me. And I actually have a Tangerine Dream sort of video coming up soon that is already done, and I think you'll like that. Here's another question that is definitely not answered in 2 seconds. But do you ever play with other musicians? How do you transition from solo music to collaborative setups, etc.? And well, I have started playing live lately, and there I play with a guitarist. So I definitely play with other musicians. But of course, during the last 20 years, I've mostly worked alone, and I mostly prefer to work alone. But back in the day, as a producer in a commercial recording studio, and as a musical director for many, many events, I've played with a lot of people, and I've instructed a lot of people to play with each other and with me on occasions, and everything in between, from big choirs to orchestras, etc., etc. I played with a lot of people in the past, and I liked it. It's always something special to play with other people, bands, etc. And you definitely have to go at it from a different angle than when you're working solo in the studio, where you can do everything yourself and make all the decisions based on what you want to do right then and there. When you're working with other people, playing with other people, there's always considerations to be made, and yeah, you sort of adapt to each other. So you start to form one big organism in terms of music movement. So it's definitely something I would like to make a video about. I have so many stories that I think you would enjoy and maybe recognize from your own musical life. So that would be an interesting video, I think, and I might do that. Okay, this one is interesting. Do you like ABBA's latest album, Voyage? And I have to say, I haven't heard more than a couple of songs. And what I've heard is okay. They definitely sound like ABBA. But I don't like, I think they have a sound that is too glossy in a way. I'm not sure they use the same techniques as they did back in the day, and maybe they didn't want to do it, and that's their decision. And I don't think the songs themselves were as well done as their classic hits from the 70s and early 80s, but it wasn't half bad. Okay, Siri, again, I have to have the phone on. I'm sorry about that, but I can't turn the phone on tonight because of family issues. So it's just Siri reacting to when I say the artist name here. So again, apologies for that. So ABBA, I like a lot. I grew up listening to them. My family played them a lot in the house where I grew up. So I'm sort of raised with music by them. So they will always have a special place in my heart for what they did. Okay, let's do that. Espen, you missed my early question. I missed a lot of early questions. I can't answer them all, unfortunately. Is there any type of synthesis that might still inspire you? And well, I'm looking forward to what AI can do in the future. I'm not scared of AI at all. I think we will end up with music done entirely by AI. We have that now in a way. But I think we'll have chart toppers and hits with vocals and everything that are completely done with AI. And I have no problem with that, really, as long as it's marked as done entirely by AI. If that's the thing, so we can know when it's done with AI or not, I'm totally fine with the music done 100% by AI. And I think AI has a lot of capabilities in terms of synthesis as well. Everything from just typing down a sound and the way you think the sound should be constructed, and the AI will do it for you. I look forward to hearing what that can bring to the table. It's not necessarily something that I will be interested in using myself, because I'm not sure that AI will be able to replicate the feelings in sound that I usually make myself. Maybe it can, maybe it won't. But I look forward to seeing the development of that. Right now, there's really not much in terms of synthesis that I have any great desire to explore. I pay attention to what's coming onto the market in terms of new synth, etc., and I see things all the time that have some sort of new element to it. But again, I'm not really interested in exploring everything about that right now. I again want to stick to what I basically have now, and make my music with that that's the main thread of this stream tonight. So no, nothing especially at the moment interests me, but development in AI and development of what's already out there might be interesting in the future. So that's that. As for the DW8000, I have 2 patch banks out for the DW8000, 64 patches in each, so that's 128 patches. And to tell you the truth, there's really not more in the DW8000 left to explore for me in terms of sound. Remember, all the sounds I make for different types of synths are sounds that I have a sort of that I'd like to use in my own music. They're basically made for me to be used in my own music, but I also share them with the rest of the world in terms of selling them, so you can use them. But I don't really have all that much left in me for making patches on the DW8000 now, so probably not doing any more patches for the DW8000. But the DW8000 banks that I have are really popular. They're being downloaded all the time. So the DW8000 is definitely a popular synth still, I think, more than I thought it would be when I started making the first patch bank for the DW8000. So definitely. And Wes, thanks for signing up to my Bandcamp page. As I told you, my music is no longer on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere else, except for a couple of tracks that's been licensed out to sort of compilation albums, etc., like the Golden Boy. That's still on Spotify because it's been licensed out. I can't do much about that until the release date of that contract. But when that expires, that too will be off Spotify and Apple Music, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. But all my other music is gone, and it's only available on Bandcamp at the moment. And when you buy my music on Bandcamp, it supports me a lot more than what the thieves and pirates and scoundrels has been doing on the streaming media. So Spotify, they're really... let's put it like this: they won't get any Christmas card invites from me this year. Spotify, no good for me, and buying my music on Bandcamp really supports me directly, and is what I prefer you to use for listening and downloading my music. And let me tell you, since I pulled down my music from Spotify and Apple Music in I think it was November last year, it's really taken off on Bandcamp, and a lot of people has bought my music there and supported me there, and I'm thankful for that. So definitely check out my Bandcamp if you want to buy my music, because it's the only way you can download my music, apart from listening to music in my videos on my YouTube channel, of course. But that's not all of the songs. There's more on Bandcamp, albums as well. So let's see here, coming towards an end, and I've never played the synclavier. I have a question here. Never played one. I don't think there's been one in Norway at all, actually, at least not during the 80s. I might be wrong, but I never heard of anyone having the synclavier or synclavier in Norway in the 80s. And after the 80s, it was really gone for a couple of decades, and it's really now been turning up again in terms of the regen and the version in the V collection, etc. So it would be fun to play around with one, but I don't know anyone that has one, so I'm not paying too much, not doing too much effort to get that done, to put it like that. Interesting. I'm going to show this one because it's directly into the creative process from Jasper here. Thank you. When you start a song, do you start with a chorus or with a verse? And that can vary, of course. If I got an idea, I might sit down on the piano and just do whatever comes out. And sometimes that will be a chorus, sometimes that will be a verse, and I just start playing around with what's before and what's after until it's a complete song. Sometimes the verse turns into a chorus, and sometimes the chorus transforms into a verse. So it's no right or wrong here. It just develops naturally as I'm working on the song itself. In my series, which I talked about, A Song Is Born, I started with the verse. I forced myself to start with the verse because of the video. So that was a little bit forced, but it's possible to force that process as well. I can say to myself, you must start with a verse, and I'll go into a verse mode. But sometimes, or more than sometimes, most often, I sit down with a sort of inspirational idea, and I just start fleshing out the song, and the verse, chorus, whatever comes first. Nice. And the follow-up question from the same guy here, Jasper, or do you start with the chord progression? And I would say that I almost always, I didn't do it in that video series because that was sort of doing it for the video series. But I often just sit down and have a melody, a top line in my head, which I just sing along with the chords I'm playing, and that sort of forms the song all at once. So the top line, the melody line, and the chords come at the same time. Then later I might change the chord progression, the chord structure or sequence in another way, and maybe alter the melody line as well. But again, that varies. So I will definitely do more videos about that, and I have other videos on my channel apart from that epic video series where I show this as well. So definitely interesting question, and something I want to focus more on the channel. Not going to say more on the Jupiter 8 now. I've talked about the Jupiter 8 earlier in the stream, so watch it back later if you want to. Make patches for the DeepMind. I've wanted to make patches for the deep, or let me put it like this: I want to make a patch bank for the DeepMind, but I don't have a DeepMind to make patches on, and I don't know any people around here locally that has a DeepMind either. So in that sense, it's hard to make patches for a synth I don't have. I've always found it kind of not wanting to do it sort of way to buy a synth to make patch banks on it and then sell it again. I do it if a manufacturer send me a synth to make a video, I might say yes to that because I like the synth and I want to make a patch bank and then I'll sell it. But to buy it myself and then sell it just to make a patch bank, it might happen. It might happen, but I don't know if it'll happen with a DeepMind. So until I get a DeepMind, I can't make a patch bank for it. And from Ivar, a fellow Norwegian here. Hi, Ivar. Good luck with focus of making music, Espen. And thank you, Ivar. Ivar makes great music himself. And keep doing it yourself, Ivar. Good luck to you as well. This one, I'll answer straight up. How close do you think Serum is to hardware synths? And I have no idea. I've never used Serum. So I basically know nothing about Serum except that I've seen the name Serum turn up from time to time in posts, etc. But on social media, but I have no idea what Serum is. So can't answer that. And again, I always start with a melody and chords when I'm making music. I never start with a rhythm. I can't do a comparison with the Jupiter 8 or the System 8 either because I don't have a System 8. So that won't happen. And as I've started the stream, doing comparisons now is really not something I'm going to pursue. Having this synth here and compare it to this synth here, I've done it in the past. And I know a lot of YouTubers still do it, and you should definitely do what you want to do if you're a YouTuber watching this, and no shame in that. But I won't do any more comparisons video where I put this synth up against this clone here or whatever. That's really not interesting to me at all anymore now. It doesn't matter really. I could use either of them in a mix. Not everything is about the mix, of course. It's about the creative process as well. But the comparisons videos, I'm done doing that. So you have to watch other YouTubers for comparisons videos from now on. But you will see a lot of cool synths in my channel moving forward, definitely, but not comparisons videos as such, not side by side anyway. So let's see. And here's another one from Peter. Forgive me if I missed a response, but have you played with the Sequential Pro 3? I'm finding it is full of possibilities, and I've only watched some videos of it myself. There was a little bit of time in the last summer where I had to choose between the Moog Matriarch and the Sequential Prophet 3 because I wanted a synth like that for sampling into my Prophet X. So I chose the Moog Matriarch back then, bought that to make patches and sample those patches, and then I sold it. So I have some experience in buying a synth and selling it after a patch bank is made, and it's really not worth the effort. So I don't regret doing it, but I won't do it again, especially not with a so expensive synth. So I thought about this Pro 3 at the time, but I didn't find the sound far enough from what I could already replicate in my Prophet X, which has pretty much the same sound capabilities as the Sequential Pro 3. And I could easily replicate many of the sounds I heard in the Pro 3 videos on my Prophet X. So therefore I found the Moog Matriarch more suitable for my needs at the time. So I won't do anything on the Pro 3, I think, because I don't know anyone having it either. So sorry about that. And I think people that were getting close to the end here, I was thinking of bringing in a friend at the end here, but he seems to have vanished. I had him here earlier, but now he's not. And as such, I don't think that'll happen right now for the remainder of the stream. We've kept it going for 1.5 hours here, and it's time to get into a close. But remember, as always, you can watch the stream back on my YouTube channel. The live chat here will also appear after about 24 hours, not straight away. So you can check out the comments a little bit later, but the stream will be available as a video when I close this down any moment now. And I will do a live stream again later. I'm also thinking about doing live streams where I just put up a camera somewhere here, and you can just watch my creative process as I'm working on a song without me giving much in terms of comments. It'll just be the sound being streamed out. And if you're interested in a stream like that occasionally, where I just let the camera run for a couple of hours while I'm working, please let me know in the comment section or in the chat here if that's something you'd be interested in. If there's very little interest, I won't do it, but if there's enough interest for it, I'll be happy to do something like that. And let me know if that's interesting for you. And again, I'm super grateful for super chats and donations to the channel. Know that when you donate to the channel like this, thank you very much. It'll directly fuel the possibility for me to do more of these things like live streams. And I enjoy doing live streams. I enjoy interacting with you guys in this direct way, and I hope you like it too. So again, please let me know in the comment section if you want to see more Q&A sessions like this, if you want to see a new format for the live streams where I do my thing in the studio while you guys are watching, again, without me commenting too much. I don't know if I'll be able to do that while I'm working. And if you have other ideas for live streams from me, please let me know that as well in the chat here. But that's about to be closed down. You can do your comments in the comment section to the video later on. So I think I'm gonna end it here with a big thank you for joining me this evening. We will do it again, and I appreciate everything you've done for me in terms of the channel, and I hope to see you on the channel. I hope you'll stay on the channel and be with me in that little subtle change, I think for the better for me and my channel going further into 2024 now. So thank you so much and have a good day or evening wherever you are in the world. Thank you for joining in. I'm Espen Croft and I am the 80s. Cheers.